Welcome to day 19. Today we're going to be talking about Job chapters 1 to 4. I was surprised too because I thought it was going to be Exodus. We just finished Genesis, 50 chapters all in all, but we're going by the Bible chronologically, so I guess Job would be next to Genesis. But here I'm reading from Rowe's book of Bible charts, maps, and timelines. It says there that 1446 to 1406 BC was when Genesis was believed to be written. Job, on the other hand, it says here it doesn't know, unknown for the author. I thought it would be Job himself. The story is about story of perseverance. It happened in Mesopotamia or in Uz. When it was written, unknown. And why? It's to show the sovereignty of God and to illustrate faithfulness in the midst of suffering. Outlines here: Job was being tested, Job's friends, Elihu's speech, and God's answer in chapters 38 to 42. Key verse here in Job 19, verse 25 to 26. I know that my Redeemer lives, and that in the end he will stand upon the earth. And after my skin has been destroyed, yet in my flesh I will see God. So there are 39 books in the Old Testament alone, so we're skipping a lot from Genesis to Job. The 39 books are Genesis, Exodus, Leviticus, Numbers, Deuteronomy, Joshua, Judges, 1st Samuel, 2nd Samuel, 1st Kings, 2nd Kings, 1st Chronicles, 2nd Chronicles, Ezra, Nehemiah, Esther, Job. That's where we are. Like before, after that, Psalms, Proverbs, Ecclesiastes, Song of Songs, Isaiah, Jeremiah, Lamentations, Ezekiel, Daniel, Hosea, Joel, Amos, Obadiah, Jonah, Micah, Nahum, Habakkuk, Zephaniah, Haggai, Zechariah, Malachi. And so Job is one of the poetry of the Bible. So the writing is very different compared to Genesis. Very Elizabethan. What do you call that? Fancy, fancy writing. It's hard to understand sometimes. They're flowery words, and yeah, it's different. Job chapter 1 talks about Job and his family in Uz. There was a man in the land of Uz whose name was Job, and that man was blameless and upright, and one who feared God and shunned evil. And 7 sons and 3 daughters were born to him. Also his possessions were 7,000 sheep, 3,000 camels, 500 yoke of oxen, 500 female donkeys, and a very large household, so that this man was the greatest of all the people of the East. I don't know exactly what East. I know where East is, but what comprises East? I feel so unprepared sharing this message. It's a lot I don't know, but we learn. We're gonna learn together. He would rise early in the morning and offer burnt offerings according to the number of them all. For Job said, this is the impressive part. It may be that my sons have sinned and cursed God in their hearts, not even saying God's name in vain verbally, but in their hearts, just in case he prays for them. I just find that very amazing. Thus, Job did regularly. One time would be amazing, but he did it regularly. Oh my gosh, the character of this guy. So this God is so proud of Job. When the angels gathered together, Satan joined them. And so Satan answered the Lord and said, this is Satan talking. He came from going to and fro on earth and from walking back and forth on it. Then the Lord said to Satan, have you considered my servant Job, that there is none like him on the earth, a blameless and upright man, one who fears God and shuns evil. Fears God and shuns evil. They are inseparable. One cannot say, I fear God, but not stay away from evil. Reminds me of how James says that too. Fear God, and the devil will flee from you. Flee from the devil. Verse 20, then Job arose. Sorry, I skipped. So Satan was basically saying, oh, he's only doing that because you built a hedge of protection around him. You blessed him so much, 4,000 thousands of blessings, this and that, but take that away. He will curse you for sure. But God was so confident with Job that he said, yeah, do what you want, but don't touch his life. So he lost his family, his prosperity, his possessions. It's almost like a joke when you read Job chapter 1. It's almost one report after the other, report of all negative things. But after Job heard these things, in verse 20 it says, Then Job arose, tore his robe, and shaved his head, and he fell to the ground and worshipped. His first reaction was to worship. And he said, Naked I came from my mother's womb, and naked shall I return there. The Lord gave, and the Lord has taken away. Blessed be the name of the Lord. In all this, Job did not sin, nor charge God with wrongdoing. Chapter 2, same thing happens. Satan doubles down. He says that strike his health and he will curse you. But Job still did not sin. His wife actually was not supportive of his faith in God. His wife said to him in verse 9, chapter 2, Do you still hold fast to your integrity? Curse God and die. Because he must have been dying already. His sickness must have been so bad that it's better for him to be dead. That's what his wife was saying. But he said to her, verse 10, You speak as one of the foolish women speaks. Shall we indeed accept good from God? And shall we not accept adversity? New King James Version, it says adversity. It didn't say evil. Adversity, meaning he can still see God's hand working in this. Again, in all this, Job did not sin with his lips. Now comes Job's three friends towards the end of chapter 2. Chapter 3, Job deplores his birth because he was in so much pain, everything's going wrong. He said in verse 3, May the day perish on which I was born. Chapter 4 is when Eliphaz, I don't know how to pronounce his name, one of Job's friends, accuses Job of sinning. It was in his mind. He's thinking, if you're good, good things happen to you. If you're bad, bad things happen to you. So I think that's his simple mindset, that you must have sinned, Job, because look at all that's happening to you. And this is the poetic part when they kept talking, and just see for yourself. This is New King James Version, but it feels very poetic still. Maybe if you're that kind of person, you'll appreciate this more. I do appreciate it, but not so much in the writing because that's not how I'm wired, I guess. But going back to the character of Job, my takeaway is that no Bible verse, I'm intentionally leaving it like that. It baffles me how Job became so faithful to God when I have a measure of faith because I think of Bible as the resume of God pursuing us. So when you see God doing miracles in the Bible and it's the same God that's pursuing us, it makes it easier to have faith because we know his background. But with Job, there's no actual Bible, or I don't know what access he had at that time that he remained so faithful. But it just makes me think, how did he become so faithful like that? That compared to me as a person now, it baffles me. I'm I think the word is I'm envious in a godly sense, I guess, because how can one have such strong faith that God Himself would say, "Hey, you're roaming around the earth. Have you considered my servant Job?" It's amazing how Job did that, and I think I think he's a man who's given one word by God and he sticks with it, versus us who go to church regularly and we hear of new words, and we think we are growing because we hear of many words. But Job must have held on to one attribute of God, which is he's good, and then he made it true in his life. I don't know. It baffles me. It's very challenging. If you play any sport and you see a worthy competitor, you have respect for that competitor, and you study their moves. That's kind of how I feel about Job because I mean, we're not competing, but their stories are meant to be encouragement, and this is such an encouraging thing. He haven't hasn't even spoken. He's not preachy, but the way he carried his life, that's I'm very much amazed. So I think I'm gonna linger on that thought for the next few days, weeks, or maybe the rest of my life, just to be challenged of how faithful Job is. And you might not appreciate that takeaway, but that's my takeaway at least. There you go. Thank you so much for your time. I truly appreciate you. And my hope, my prayer is that you would seek God through the Bible. I am not, I'm sure I didn't do a great job explaining Job right now, but I hope you read it yourself. That's the best to go. And please take very good care of yourself. Bye bye.